Again, back to part 4 of my vision in the Sanhedrin. And this is a bit of my history as well as a testimony of where I am and where I've come from, so people get a little bit understanding who I am. Began to understudy with Rabbi Biderman in Richmond. And Rabbi Biderman is not, well, he's not our form of Messianic. He's Jewish. They're part of the Chabad organization, which is like an evangelical Jew. He believes in the one who's come. Part of my story is I would debate some of his elders on the subject, and as well him, on the subject of the coming King and Jesus being the Messiah, or Yeshua. And moved the Chabad to where they are today. And also began to study with a group called the Kol HaTorah, another ultra-Orthodox group, and understudy the Ty Motzkovoy, who became my head rabbi and was the Messianic rabbi in my life, as long as Evelyn and Leon Duzik, who also were Messianic ministers in my life, rabbinus and a rabbi. Sowed into me and pointed me on the road where I am today. So when people are out there claiming to be rabbi, you need to ask them a question. What's your qualification? What's your education? Who commissioned you? And what school do you belong? There are people out there who gravitate to them and recognize them and say, well, Rabbi, and they're going, hey, yeah. Our part of it is, I got the authority, I got the credentials. Not just from a Messianic school, but I've been credentialed and recognized in the Chabad school and held membership in high esteem with the Kol HaTorah until they try to get me to recount my teachings and doctrines about Yeshua. Completely, totally renounce them and abandon those teachings. Well, I walked out. I would rather suffer disdain from those people than to deny or reject anything that God's taught me or what I've come to know or affirm into my foundations. And I miss some of those brothers, I really do. I enjoyed some of the studies. It was very deep than anything you can imagine. I've had a lot of good schooling, I've got a lot of good teachers, I've had a lot of influences in my life, and some people don't appreciate them, and that's fine. I don't care. They're my teachers. They never did wrong by me. I drove a lot of them nuts. I drive a lot of people nuts. I drove Christian pastors nuts. It's not so much that I struggle with what I believe. I know what I believe. It's just trying to connect that puzzle together, and I hate puzzles. But every day, every moment, every second, things start making sense, and that's the problem with me. Things have to make sense. Until I got to meet this wonderful young man on a group called Meet Christians. The last person you'd ever think that you'd ever meet is anybody who's Jewish. And I stumbled into Eliyahu. At one time, Eliyahu almost became family. He took a shining to my daughter, but She picked a different path and he couldn't go that way. That's all fine. He's married the love of his life. And I pray for them and I wish them well. I do. I've never had a friend like I do with Eli, or Vitamin, or Muscovy, or Duzik. Or even Jim Wright. These people mean so much to me because they help encourage me and dig in deeper, because they looked at me for some spiritual knowledge, and so now I gotta smarten up, crack the books, figure these things out, because they challenge me to stay at it until I can figure things out. And I have my own whimsical sense of humor. And one day this boy shared with me something that I was working on and praying about, because I knew about the Council in Jerusalem, original Messianic under James, not this mythology of Peter and the Roman, who went off and formed a false church which we call Catholicism, and it wasn't even Peter. And I knew that things have a way of coming around in circles. And I understood that the council which left Jerusalem would have to return to Jerusalem one day. And he began talking about the Sanhedrin, and I began talking about Sanhedrin. Somewhere in the conversation, we realized we're talking about the same thing. And it doesn't matter, well, can't say it doesn't matter. It matters to some point and some degree, because every time people lash out at me, I take it very personally, in pain. But if they turn to me, it doesn't matter how angry I am or how upset I am, I'm there for them. I've had a lot of interesting discussions with Ted and several other brothers in BC to understand where we are, what we're doing. And for me, it wasn't a matter of where I am or what I'm doing. There's a sense of being righteous before God and establishing His proper order, and we set upon the dream of forming a new, renewed Sanhedrin. The difficulty was that Yahoo seemed to pick that up on being Netzerim. That's all fine and dandy, but there was a time when there were several schools that were represented at the Council in Jerusalem. And so my vision and my dream goes beyond being a Netzerim. It goes to a point where, as a person, I understand that the Messiah's prayer before he left this planet has to take precedence. And his final prayer was, I pray, Father, that they become one even as you and I are one. And instead of becoming one, we seem to be shattering in the sphere and going off and doing our own little drumbeat. And I keep thinking about the book of Judges, where it's recorded that every man did what was right in his own eyes. And we're back at that level of time where every man's doing what is right in their eyes, not necessarily what's right in God's eyes. So when he asked him to be the Abbé Din, I turned around and said no, because to whom much is given, much is required. And a lot of my friends will tell you, sometimes in my life I'm not the most responsible person, and I hate responsibility. But at the same time, if responsibility is delegated to me, it helps like a check and balance in my life, and it winds up correcting me. And if I see that people are measuring their sticks by me, I get upset because I think I'm the least the measurement, but it helps me shore up what I need to do, because they're looking at me, then perhaps in my struggles they can see that and become one. So I don't care if you're Hebrew roots, and I don't care if you're Nazarene, I don't care even if you're a sacred name. I think that the Messianic Sanhedrin is a place that we need to come to regather. Maybe this year here, and maybe next year, as we like to say, in Jerusalem. As we walk up that path in our lives, and we come to understand the bidding of the Messiah, we'll come to understand the walk of our faith. But let me caution you, my friends, do not go around calling yourself a rabbi if you don't share this dream. And don't think you're any form of credential if you don't share this dream. Because you're rebellious and you're outside the picture. And I don't care who you are, you may not see the validity and quarrel with it as the Alliance people do, but there are already charlatans up there who are trying to paint the same picture, and they're laughing at you, my friends, because you can't get your act together. And if you read the book of Acts, it says they got together in one place in one accord, and they got their act together. And when they got their act together, then the Ruach HaKodesh poured down upon them, and there appeared to them tongues of fire. We have to be one in the Spirit. Now that doesn't mean that we necessarily have to agree on every aspect of Scripture. And I think that's what really makes the checks and balances in all of us. And that's where we have a lot to learn from the Hebrews brother. And the Hebrews brother have a lot to learn from us. And maybe in coming together in what we do understand, we can correct the sacred namers. And they'll stop blotting out the name of God. The very testimony of our Messiah. We have so many things to cover. And we have so much to offer each other. So my vision goes beyond myself. Goes beyond my school as a Nazarene. Goes beyond what I may have for a personal attribute or thought or idea. When I sit here as your Abbe Din, I don't adjudicate because I hate y'all. I adjudicate because I love y'all and I want to correct y'all, and you're on the wrong path. We must be one, even as the Father is one. And I pray, my brothers, that your eyes are opened and you begin to work toward the foster and the fellowship of unity. So that when we gather together in the United States of America for the first time as a body as a whole, I hope to see you all there, strong in number, so we can answer small charlatan groups and false teachers and false rabbis, and first and foremost challenge even the false Messiah, who's very close at hand, and you are not ready. My friends, be ready. That is my prayer. That is my vision. Shalom. Mazel tov.